My hot take is that this could be the movie that saves the DC cinematic universe. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of It Takes Two. I'm Emily.
And I'm Quinlan.
And today we are talking about Black Adam. I have been waiting months for this to come out, and I was so excited that it came out the day before my birthday.
I had no idea what this movie was until I started going to the movies. And there was previews for it. So, I found out about it a couple weeks ago, so...
Only a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I guess maybe a week before your birthday.
That's just wild to me. Since, the moment that they started releasing trailers for this, me and my dad have been back and forth. Did you see the new trailer? Did you see when it's being released? Oh my gosh, did you see this thing about it?
Nope, literally had no idea until we got that movie pass, you get to see unlimited movies or whatnot. So, the first movie we went and saw, it was a preview. It had a preview for Black Adam. I mean, that's how I found out a lot of new movies.
That's fair. That's what they're for.
Yeah, so I don't really keep up with, what's coming out unless it's got someone I regularly watch their movies, like the Weird Al movie with Daniel Radcliffe in it. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to watch that one.
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
See, I like Daniel Radcliffe, so I've seen tons of his movies. So when I found out that they're making a Weird Al movie and he's Weird Al, that's
You want to know what I think of when I think of Daniel Radcliffe?
Huh?
That one scene of him from a show that I have no idea what it's called, and he's in a full pleather suit singing Coming Round the Mountain.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's some Oregon Trail parody thing where he's a pastor.
Nope. Oh, that's funny. The Swiss Army Man movie that he's in literally cracks me up. He's a dead person the whole movie. I don't really get it. But he's dead. It's a Swiss Army. I think it's called Swiss Army Man.
So weird.
It is called Swiss Army Man. I was totally right.
I like that we've started this podcast off topic.
We did. We
haven't even got to the movie yet. We said Black Adam.
We said we're watching. We watched Black Adam. Just to be clear, everybody. We actually didn't watch all the Daniel Radcliffe movies.
That's another episode.
We actually watched Black Adam this week, just in case you were confused.
I feel like I should just cut all that out and we start talking about Black Adam, because none of this is relevant.
I think it's funny. I think it's the perfect way to start off the episode.
I don't know for our retention, but... So, Black Adam.
Okay, anyway, Black Adam.
Okay, so to be honest, I don't really know any of the backstory to the actual character of Black Adam, even though, I'm a deep DC fangirl. Basically, going into this, all I knew about him was that he was from Kahndaq, and he's basically, anti-Shazam.
Yeah, I got that from the movie.
Yeah.
But no, literally no idea who Black Adam was. I was super confused. At why The Rock was playing him. I didn't really get it. It all made sense at the end. It was a good movie. But going into it, I was a little confused.
I was surprisingly entertained by The Rock being Black Adam. I was worried about that casting choice, only for the fact of I didn't want a repeat of Will Smith as Deadshot.
Okay.
Because I think he was fine, and he was good in the movie. He fit the movie, but he didn't fit the character of Deadshot. Okay. Deadshot's a lot more moody, broody, kind of does not care, will kill anyone. Will Smith, I feel like, brought too much comedy to it. Like, you'd never catch him cracking a joke. That just isn't his character whatsoever. So I
Okay.
was a little worried because
I see it.
sometimes The Rock can be The Rock in something. Not his character, but he's just The Rock in a movie.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
definitely don't feel like that's what this was. I feel like he fit the character really well.
Yeah. A lot of times, you think about other superhero movies in general, and you never see somebody who is their own character be brought into a superhero. Like, besides, like, Will Smith,
Yeah.
you don't ever see anybody that has a big acting career. Like, I'm not saying, like, they have no acting career. I'm saying, like, you don't know them for one movie specifically
Mm.
or multiple movies.
They're not the same character. Like, you wouldn't see Tom Cruise popping into a superhero movie. But Ben Affleck works because he's been in a ton of different styles. He's not like that character.
He's the universal, like, they don't play one type
Yeah.
of character. You don't think of them, oh, they always do this. They're always this kind of person in this kind of film,
Yeah.
you know? And so The Rock totally has that. Like, thinking about it, he does play the same type of guy in like 90% of his stuff.
Yeah.
But it was good. He didn't
It was
play
such a
The
strong
Rock in
performance.
this one. This was Dwayne Johnson.
Yes. That
not
is
The
a
Rock.
great way to put this.
I think that's the only way to put it. I mean, the way I was trying to explain it didn't make much sense. This was Dwayne
Not
Johnson
The Rock.
and not
Yeah.
The Rock.
The Rock is The Rock.
Like,
This was Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah,
I think that's honestly
the
a
best way to
perfect summarization of that, though. I almost cried when they were like intergang. No one knows who that is, but that is like a huge like villain complex thing, and I was like, they went deep on this. And like, I'm curious how this is going to fit into the timeline now of the DC cinematic universe, because they're already at full Justice Society. If we had more time to focus on his ship too, it looked like he had a boom tube kind of system to it, and I know you don't know what that means, and nobody when I went to it knew what it meant either, but it's fine. It's just that technology, just like all the characters in this. I thought going into this, I didn't know who they were. Obviously, I knew Dr. Fate. Obviously, I knew Hawkman. Hawkman's more mainstream.
Yeah. Stop.
Penelope, you are not involved.
She was about to do it again.
Dr. Fate, I just know really well because I've always loved Zatanna, and depending on which iteration, that's her dad. But I realized, first of all, Noah Centineo was a weird choice.
Oh, so weird. I've got a lot to say about that too.
But then Cyclone, I thought I was like, who is this character? I have never heard of her. And then when they were explaining her backstory, it clicked for me. She's in Young Justice. She just was super pale, had neon pink hair, and had a little bit of a different backstory. I can't remember if it was Intergang specifically or not, or another, like, one of those organizations, but they kidnapped her and experimented on her, and that's how she got wind powers. I just didn't make the connection that they were the same person, because it wasn't the same visualization I knew of the character, because I didn't remember her name, because at the time in the show, she wasn't a superhero. It was just teenager trying to adapt to having these powers now.
Yeah, okay.
They went deep.
As cool as she was. Yeah.
No, they went deep.
That's
and
true.
I could rant about this for literal days. And I have.
Yeah. The one thing about what's the guy's name? Noah
Centineo.
What? Centineo. Literally, I knew his face. I only knew his name. Noah said something. That's all I know. I've never seen anything that he's been in, but I know that everybody was obsessed with him for a long time.
To all the boys I've loved before.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I've heard of that. Um, he's the third name listed at the end of the movie. How do they rank the name? Because like Dwayne Johnson is the first, and I'm not talking about like order of seeing because he was not the third person
And
we
if it
saw.
doesn't say order of appearance, it's
Mm-hmm.
normally
Like highest
yeah.
paying. He was an absolute idiot. He was the third highest paid actor in that movie.
Dude, he's huge. Like he's in everything. But you know what? When I was staring at
I've literally never seen him in anything.
I've seen him in a ton of stuff, but you and me watch very different content sometimes.
Never seen him in a single
Here's the
thing.
sad part though. I've seen him in a bunch of stuff, okay? I think I might even follow him on Instagram. I'm not positive. But
Okay,
LA, there's been
got it.
posters for this movie every street corner, right? You saw it. I've seen his face on every single billboard, and I was like, why does that person look so familiar? I have no idea who that is. And then I was like,
I recognized him as soon as he opened
yep.
his mouth.
When I
like,
heard him, I was like, Noah Centineo? What?
also, Henry Winkler was his uncle. I was like, what?
I was okay with that.
But see, there were so many like other people in this movie, and he was the third person that they
I am not
mentioned.
surprised at all that he's the third top billed on this movie.
I would have picked everybody over him.
It's just because of where he's at in his career right now. He is booking back to back to back.
I just don't get it.
They also wanted to get that teenage audience through the door because he's a heartthrob.
I guess so. He had a couple funny lines, but everybody did. So it wasn't like
it's DC. There's gonna be funny lines.
Yeah, but like other than that, I saw no appeal there. But
well, see, I also thought I didn't know what that character was either, and then I remembered when we saw it like happening. I've seen that character in different iterations again, but because it's not a main DC character. And when I'm saying main, I don't mean like, oh, Batman, Wonder Woman, blah, blah, blah. The Justice League or Justice Society, depending on which era you're talking about, is obviously going to be more of the main people, but they still include like some sub-branches and stuff. He's like pretty, at least on the content that I've ingested,
just far removed from all of
like
that.
you may have like seen him pop up once or twice, but not. He's not a character I've actively
I thought his name
followed.
was kind of. I thought his name was kind of stupid.
Atom Smasher? That's how you can tell he's like an old school character, because it was literally what his power is. He can change his atoms, which makes him extra strong.
He's just big.
Yes.
I was just like, Atom Smasher. It took me a while. And then, I knew it meant atom, as in like an atom inside of you, what makes up the blah 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 structure of everything. But I was just like, nothing else we couldn't have thought of. But it was funny. Everybody had some funny lines. It was a funny movie, but it was also like really good, crazy like settings, like visuals for everything. The different houses that they were like busting through, that like everything would just go I was like, dang, crazy.
I really loved the Palace of Kahndaq, because that's an iconic thing. Like, that is Black Adam's lair. I'll get to that later, because I have some really interesting comments that I want questions to ask you as someone who has no idea about this property.
Okay. Cool.
But like, that's a very iconic thing. Like, I think you've played before Injustice 2, so the DC version of Mortal Kombat that I have.
Yes.
So he's a character in that, but then also his like palace is in the game and everything, so you really get to see it. Okay. And I thought it was a really good representation of that. I really liked it.
Okay. Yeah, it looked cool. No, like obviously I knew it was going to be a high budget film, like because of what it was. But I don't know, just the caves that they were in, and then the houses that they're smashing through, and then the palace, and just everything.
Yes.
it was just so also just so visually appealing the entire movie. Like
The cinematography, though,
just crazy.
the fight scenes.
Yeah.
I've never seen a movie pull off fight scenes better. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
Batman versus Superman walked so this movie could run.
It was just amazing. There was no
It's because
like
no one
I
has
don't know.
ever conceptualized a superhero fight scene properly. Because they always do it where it's just like punches so fast you can't tell what's going on, blah, blah, blah. The slowing it down
Yeah.
and bringing it into slow mo of almost like a video game type appeal made you understand what was going on and understand the complexity of it in a way that didn't take you out of it but worked. But it wasn't also in like a Snyder type of way where the slow mo feels overdone and too much, and it held long enough. Like when I think of like when Cyclone would do her like moves, and it would just hold on her long enough that you could see what she was doing, but it wasn't like, oh, look at them like grunting at each other's faces for half
Look
a
how
second.
like
Yeah,
yeah. Or when Fate, the guy, what is
Dr.
his
Fate.
name? It's just Dr. Fate. There we go. When he would be like 50 people and they would be grabbing him all at once, it was slow enough to where you could see how 50 people could be grabbing this one guy all at once and how Black Adam was able to then disarm these 50 guys all at once. But it wasn't like way too slow or too fast to just be like, what is happening? This is
It
too
was so
much.
impressive.
Like,
I also loved they actually did the Dr. Fate magic. So for most of the movie, you just see him kind of do the mirror dimension thing, which kind of gives you like
mm-hmm.
I'd say Doctor Strange almost vibes of how he does his magic in the beginning.
Yeah.
But then when he's
Uh-huh.
fighting Black Adam at the end, you see him do at least once he pulls the Egyptian cross and like it's a weapon almost and he like smacks it down on him. That is an iconic like Dr. Fate thing is like he can throw those and stuff. I was as a huge Dr. Fate fangirl, I thought it was so impressive. And then I know this means nothing to you either, but I believe its name is oh, it's either it's like Naboo or something. That's the entity that possesses his helmet. So when they say he's possessed in the movie when he wears the helmet, he's
mm-hmm.
legitimately meaning that. There is an entity that works for the Lords of Fate that is possessing this helmet, and that's where he gets his powers from. So the fact that Hawkman was allowed to use the powers of the helmet by Naboo, I can't remember what his name
Yeah.
is a feat because it chooses who it lets do it or not, and that's why in some iterations of Fate, Zatanna takes the helmet, and then because she has magic, it wants her, but her dad makes a deal for his soul to give eternity to that entity so that Zatanna doesn't have to be possessed forever.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That was another good thing like that the movie did cuz like yes, I'm getting a lot more information from you, but I also like got a lot from just the movie on its own, and it wasn't like they weren't just spitting random stuff at you the whole time. But the fact that like when the Atom Smasher and Cyclone were talking and he went to go touch the helmet and she was like, don't do that, like it was enough to be like, oh, what, why? And then like to see at the end when he was able to touch the helm and wear it and use it, and it was like, wow, that's insane, because like even though I had no idea going into any of it what any of these people were, what any of them did, I had enough of a like knowledge just by the little like breadcrumbs that they were dropping throughout the whole
That's why
movie.
I think it will be successful, is because if you know DC, you're gonna love this movie because it has all those things
Mm-hmm.
you love. But you can come into this movie not having any knowledge of the characters or properties and still enjoy this movie and know enough to feel like you're involved in this thing that should be super niche.
Yeah.
My hot take is that this could be the movie that saves the DC cinematic universe.
Oh, well, with the end credit scene
Yep. Henry
and
Cavill's
freaking
coming back.
Superman. And I've just since I've seen this movie, I've been seeing all these videos of him, like how he's agreed to come back
Mm-hmm.
as Superman, and how he's just like getting shredded because he's got to get ready to
Yes.
get like be Superman again, you know. And I was like, oh, that's cool, that's huge, like, you know, that's how much they're betting on this.
This could save them. They had enough issues before this, but then they had the whole Ezra Miller situation that's still ongoing. But this could pull them back out of this. This could be their Iron Man.
Yeah, 100%.
Because Marvel tried for so long and they just couldn't do it. Failed movie after failed movie. And then for some reason, Iron Man, who was a mildly popular character, but not nearly as popular as we'd associate him with today, it was more like Captain America. Spider-Man was huge. Even Daredevil, in some cases, I'd say might be more popular.
And it even took Spider-Man so long, because, like,
that's because of
Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, it all just kind of flopped.
I'm gonna blame Sony for that, but that's okay.
but yeah, but it just kind of flopped, and then you get to once the Avengers started doing their thing, and then we get Spider-Man back, like, because like Spider-Man is like one of the biggest, but yet it took us that long to get him into the Avengers. And so,
well, I think that's also a huge thing of like Tom Holland is the first Spider-Man that actually takes Spider-Man to its origins more. Granted, Tobey Maguire's version was a lot more accurate to what actually happened depending on which iteration of Spider-Man you're talking about. But it took us back to more of those roots of this high school kid trying to figure it out, making mistakes, not this grown man being like, I'm going to avenge the world, you know?
I know exactly how to dodge every single punch coming at me. Like, his spidey senses were just
Tom Holland gets smacked
instantly
around sometimes.
And yeah, he just gets messed up. So, yeah, no, and I think that this movie, Black Adam, could really just, like, push us back into... Because Marvel's had its time. It's great. It's not going anywhere, obviously.
I mean, it's not going to get better. They hit their peak. I'm interested for the next phases, but I don't think they're going to be as good as the first three.
No, exactly. It's like, after I've watched all the movies, and now there's all the shows and spin-offs, and I've kind of like, I tune in here and there, but I'm not really like, oh my god, another Marvel movie. You know, another Marvel show.
The only exception to that I'm going to say now, even though I haven't seen it yet, is Wakanda Forever. That does not count.
That one is gonna be good.
We got to talk about that one too. That's the only exception. That is the only exception.
But I think it's because that's focusing on
that's also
else.
Very true.
I mean, it is, but it's not. You know, it's Marvel, but it's focusing on its own thing, and I think that's
it also goes back to the original phases. It's a character from the original phases, not this new expanded universe of random characters that we're not really that invested in.
Yeah, like all the Doctor Strange characters that came in. I'm just like, what? Like, once you get that far, I'm just kind of, I get confused.
That's very fair.
So, I think that, yeah, Black Adam really could save some superhero movies. For sure. Like, really bring it back.
If they can
give DC its time. If
they can save the DC cinematic universe, that'd be amazing. I think DC owns better property than Marvel does, but it just hasn't translated the same way. But I also think it's where commercial audiences are at. Marvel is more of a happy-go-lucky superhero thing. They face some dark things, but they'll always get through it. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Whatever. Happy, think Captain America doing his ads, you know? But DC is dark, gritty. It's realistic. And I just don't think audiences have been quite ready for that. And I feel like after everything that's happened the last couple years, there's kind of a shift. And people are more into that dark, gritty aesthetic. But they also just like to make fun of DC, and I think people need to get over that for us to make it through.
Because yeah, just I mean, just even this movie, they talked about like how the country has just been enslaved for years and no one's done anything. And that happens. That's happening. And nobody talks about it. But this movie like brings you in like here's some American soldiers being, enslaving enslaving a country's own people and controlling the entire country for what?
You bring up a really good point about DC. A lot of their villains are more realistic. So even if you think Lex Luthor, um, oh, I forget what her name is, but there's this one queen who has the power to control men. There's Lord Vertigo. All of these people are leaders, world leaders of countries. In a lot of some of the newer DC content, Lex Luthor is literally on like huge, I think like the Senate or something of America, like a leader of America and all of these people, and they're the villains. Yet, there's still these
Yeah.
world leaders that are controlling people and making decisions. And I feel like that's so
Mm-hmm.
more realistic versus, oh no, this guy that busts in and starts like killing people, guess we better go stop him.
Yeah, aliens from outer space. Like it's good. It's content. I mean, it's content. Like it's good. It did its thing. It's worth it. But this movie specifically, showing Kondak how people can be enslaved inside of their own country, and it's a topic that other movies aren't hitting on, and going into those types of deep issues, and this one really does it.
Okay, I think now is a good time for me to ask you my big question. Where do you see Black Adam's character going in the future?
Mm, good question. With that end scene, I think we're gonna see him get the shit beat out of him a few more times, for sure. But I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be kind of similar to what it was a little bit with the whole like freeing the people of Kondak and him maybe leaning in a little bit more to the hero role rather than him like being so anti-hero the entire time. But I don't know because like I don't know anything about it. But with seeing Superman, he's got to be in there too. I don't know.
That's the other thing I really, really thought was nice about this movie. Black Adam is not an anti hero. Black Adam is a straight up villain in the DC universe.
Okay.
Like, he is always on the side. I can never remember if I think they're called the Injustice League. It depends what iteration. Sometimes they call them the Light. There's other names. But
Uh
he
huh.
has always been like a straight up villain. So I
Villain.
really liked him portrayed as kind of like an anti hero trying to adjust. It was
Uh huh.
very interesting, and I love the take of a sympathetic villain. Especially now, how are they going to slip
Yeah.
him back into the universe? Is he going to become an anti hero like you predict? Is he going to turn to that villain? Because obviously, Superman and Amanda Waller are not on his side, which is not a good sign, but honestly, Amanda Waller is on no one's side, so
She literally is not. She's like, get them all.
she is the worst.
She's like, everybody kill everybody. She's like,
You
not my
should see the
problem.
comic book version of her. She's like beefed out and like the most aggressive woman
Oh,
you've
really?
ever seen.
I could
That's
see
why I
it.
really like this version of her because I think it like makes her seem less assuming.
Yeah, I think that we got to see Black Adam's like not necessarily lowest, but lowest. He's like, you destroyed Kondak. Like you are the reason. We got to see how everyone thought of him as this big hero and how he freed everybody, and then they were waiting for him to come back to free everybody again, but like we actually got the end, like the story or whatnot, and how he didn't really it was out of rage that everything was. And so I think, yeah, we'll get to see, I think probably still struggling with that big dilemma of back and forth of wanting to be a hero but not really knowing how.
I really think it's a good comparison to right now where we are in the Shazam universe too, of watching him try to figure out what he's doing as a hero while he watches like everyone else around him be heroes, and like he's bad at it. And I feel like they're kind of at the same stages right now, and that's kind of interesting
Uh-huh.
to see how that's all going to come together.
Yeah. Because here he is like what, like a teenage
Yeah.
boy. And then Black Adam's just hundreds and thousands of years old. And yet they're still kind of in that same area of like just that gray area of not knowing what's next.
Okay, going back to Amanda Waller, I really love though that they showed the suspension pods in like her prison kind of thing, because that is like a huge DC thing as well.
The
Yeah, like
water, like,
suspended animation pods of like that prison was just full of people like that.
oh, there's just thousands of villains in there.
Like that's such a thing of how they kept people on ice and stuff, and there's just so many DC references, and I could literally go on forever about this.
They really are gonna. I'm telling you, yeah, they're gonna go crazy with it. They could totally just go right for it. Once this movie they realize how good it's gonna do, boom. Superman, Batman,
You
bring
know,
it
it
all
would be
back.
amazing, but probably won't happen, is
What?
if they actually brought Jensen Ackles into the DC universe. Because he voices a ton of like animated characters. I say a ton. I think it's mostly Red Hood, and I think there's one other character. But to actually bring him
Uh-huh.
in, I would cry. I would legitimately cry. My favorite human in my favorite property. Well, second favorite human. But, we're not counting.
That would be really cool.
I would love for Jesse McCartney to play Nightwing, but Jesse McCartney would never play Nightwing. I just grew up listening to him be Robin and Nightwing, so I think he should voice the character, but somebody should just be behind a mask, and it's not him.
Oh, Jesse McCartney?
Yeah. Beautiful soul.
Beautiful soul, yeah. Jesse McCartney? I had no idea.
No, he's Dick Grayson in Young Justice.
Okay. I'll think, I don't want a pretty face. I don't want to ask anyone to hold. Yep. Okay, got it. Yep. In my brain now. Okay, guys. So, I think you get it. Just go watch it. Stop.
If you're watching us, go watch it. It's better.
It does. We won't hold it against you. I think
just go.
Just go. Go now. Go see
Save
Black Adam.
the DCU.
Let's do it. I am gonna go watch the Weird Al movie.
And I'm gonna go send her Daniel Radcliffe singing Coming Around the Mountain, because she just needs to know that exists, period. And with that, we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace out, Cub Scout.